First Fridays, I was so happy I got that movie because I knew how it was going to help my career because all I was doing then before that was touring the state and I was going back to state to state. I wanted to go to the next level. So I said, I need a TV show or a movie. Got Fridays and I was like, oh, thank God.
For nearly 30 years, Chris Tucker has been one of Hollywood's most beloved and mysterious figures. After Friday made him a star in 1995, he became one of the highest-paid actors in the world, starring in The Fifth Element, Money Talks, and the Rush Hour trilogy. He not only made millions, but also history. And then he disappeared with no explanation. So what really happened to Chris? Why did he vanish at the height of his fame? Join us as we reveal what Chris finally admitted about Friday after all these years of silence. The comedian nobody knew. Before Friday, Chris Tucker was just a young comedian trying to make it in Atlanta. He was one of 6 children in a family that did not have much money. His father was a small business owner who worked hard to provide for the family. His mother worked in a school system, and it was in this school system Chris discovered comedy early. He would make his friends and teachers laugh. It was from his early years he knew that making people laugh was what he was meant to do. He later said that humor was survival in his household. With 6 kids, things were chaotic, but when he made his siblings laugh, he felt like he had control over something. He started doing stand-up comedy in Atlanta clubs when he was just a teenager. He was funny, but he was also fearless. He would get on stage and talk about anything, imitating people, and even invent characters. He had a high-pitched voice and a rapid-fire delivery that made audiences pay attention. He worked at a Blockbuster video store while doing stand-up at night and would sometimes practice his routines on customers who had no idea they were watching a future star. In 1992, he appeared on Def Comedy Jam, the HBO show that launched the careers of some of the biggest comedians of the era.
That borrow your shit and keep it so long, you have to borrow it back.
His set was electric. He was young, energetic, and he had something that nobody else had. He had a voice that was instantly recognizable. He had a presence that filled the room, and he had the confidence of someone who knew he was going to be a star. Russell Simmons, the show's producer, told him afterward that he was going to be huge. Chris did not believe him at first. He thought Simmons said that to everyone. One person watching that night was Ice Cube. Ice Cube was already famous from NWA and Boys and the Hood. He was working on a script for a movie about his neighborhood in South Central Los Angeles. He needed a co-star, someone who could play Smokey, the fast-talking, weed-smoking best friend of the main character. When he saw Chris on Def Comedy Jam, he knew he had found his guy. Ice Cube called his manager immediately after seeing Chris's set and said, "That's him, that's Smokey." The problem was that nobody else in Hollywood knew who Chris Tucker was. The studio wanted a known actor. They wanted someone with a name. Ice Cube had to fight to get Chris cast. He had to use his own money to fly Chris to Los Angeles for an audition and convince New Line Cinema that this unknown comedian from Atlanta was the only person who could play the role. When Chris walked into the audition, he did not have to read lines. He just became Smokey. He improvised, made everyone in the room laugh, and got the job. He later said that he was so nervous before the audition that he almost turned around and went back to the airport, but something told him to stay, that something changed his life forever. How did an unknown comedian from Atlanta convince Ice Cube that he was the only person who could play Smokey? The role that changed everything. When Chris arrived on the set of Friday, he was nervous. He had done stand-up comedy, small roles in House Party 3 and a few other projects. But this was different. This was a movie where he was the co-star, where he had to carry scenes with Ice Cube, who was already a famous rapper and actor. It was a movie where he had to be funny on command, in front of a crew, with cameras rolling. He was also working with a director who was making his first feature film. F. Gary Gray was only 24 years old when he directed Friday. He had directed music videos for Ice Cube, but he had never made a movie. The whole production was a group of young people trying to figure things out together. The budget was just $3.5 million. They shot in a real neighborhood in South Central Los Angeles. They used real houses, real streets, real people. It was not a Hollywood set, it was real life. In a 2020 interview with GQ, Chris described the experience. It was like a family. We were all young. We were all trying to make something special. Nobody had any ego. We just wanted to make people laugh. He said that Ice Cube and F. Gary Gray gave him the freedom to be himself. They did not want him to follow the script exactly. They wanted him to bring his own energy to the character. Chris's approach to Smokey was to be as authentic as possible. He drew on his own experiences growing up in Georgia. He drew on the people he knew, the way they talked, the way they moved. He also improvised constantly. Many of the most famous lines from Friday were not in the script. They came from Chris, standing in front of a camera, being funny. "You got knocked the fussing out" was improvised. The scene where Smokey is trying to get money from his grandmother and keeps getting distracted was largely improvised. The "we ain't never had no dog" scene was improvised. The scene where Smokey is sitting on the porch and telling Craig about his day was mostly improvised. Chris did not just act in Friday. He brought a kind of energy to the character that nobody else could have brought. Chris later said that he did not even remember half of what he said in the movie. He was just in the moment, reacting, being funny. He said that watching the movie for the first time was surreal. He did not recognize himself. He did not remember saying most of the lines that people were quoting. The movie was shot in just 20 days. The budget was small, the schedule was tight, but the energy on set was electric. Everyone knew they were making something special. They just did not know how special. Chris later said that there was no indication while they were filming that the movie would become what it became. They thought it was funny. They hoped people would like it, but they had no idea that 30 years later, people would still be quoting lines from it. When Friday was released in April 1995, it exceeded all expectations. It opened at number 2 at the box office, behind only While You Were Sleeping. It eventually grossed over $28 million domestically, making it one of the most profitable films of the year relative to its budget. But more importantly, it became a cultural phenomenon. People quoted it, people rewatched it, people passed it on to their friends, and Chris became a star overnight. What was it about Chris's performance that made Smokey one of the most unforgettable characters in comedy history? The explosion of fame. After Friday, Chris's career exploded. He was suddenly one of the most sought-after young actors in Hollywood. He had a unique voice, a unique energy, and a unique ability to make audiences laugh. He was also African American at a time when Hollywood was just beginning to realize that black comedies could be profitable. Friday had proven that a movie made by black filmmakers with black actors about black experiences could be a huge hit. Chris's next role was in The Fifth Element, a big-budget science fiction film directed by Luc Besson. He played Ruby Rhod, a flamboyant radio host in a futuristic world. It was a completely different role from Smokey, and Chris approached it with the same fearlessness. He improvised. He created a character that was over the top and unforgettable. The Fifth Element was a hit, and it showed that Chris could do more than just comedy. He later said that playing Ruby Rhod was one of the most freeing experiences of his career. He could do anything. He could wear anything. He could say anything. There were no rules. Later that same year, he starred in Money Talks with Charlie Sheen. The film was a buddy comedy about a con man and a journalist. It was not a critical success, but it made money, and it solidified Chris's status as a movie star. He was now leading films. He was the name above the title. He was the reason people bought tickets. Then came the role that would make him a global superstar, Rush Hour. Chris starred opposite Jackie Chan as Detective James Carter, a loud, fast-talking LAPD officer who teams up with a Hong Kong detective to solve a kidnapping. The chemistry between Chris and Chan was electric. The film was a massive hit, grossing over $244 million worldwide. It was followed by Rush Hour 2, which was even bigger, grossing over $347 million, and Rush Hour 3, which grossed over $258 million. For a time, Chris was one of the highest-paid actors in Hollywood. According to Forbes, he earned $25 million for Rush Hour 3, making him one of the top-earning actors that year. He was also making millions from stand-up comedy tours, which sold out arenas around the world. He was on top of the world. He was living the dream. But even as his career was reaching its peak, Chris was becoming more private. He stopped doing interviews. He stopped appearing in movies. He seemed to disappear from public life entirely. The man who had once been everywhere was suddenly nowhere to be found. Why did Chris, at the height of his fame, decide to step away from Hollywood. The silence begins. After Rush Hour 3 in 2007, Chris essentially stopped acting. He had a small role in Silver Linings Playbook and a few other projects, but for the most part, he was gone. For years, fans wondered what had happened to him. There were many rumors. Some said he had become difficult to work with. Some said he had demanded too much money and priced himself out of Hollywood. Some said he had retired to focus on his religious faith. Some said he was just enjoying his money and his life. Some said he had health problems. Some said he had gone broke. The speculation was endless. The truth, as Chris has explained in recent interviews, is more complicated. In a 2015 interview with the Huffington Post, he said, "I wanted to take a break. I had been working for a long time. I had done Rush Hour and Friday and The Fifth Element. I needed to step back and figure out what I wanted to do next." He said that he had been working non-stop since he was a teenager. He needed to breathe. He needed to live a normal life for a while. He also talked about the pressures of fame. He said that fame was disorienting. People treated him differently. They expected him to be Smokey or Ruby Rhod or Detective Carter all the time. He needed to remember who he was when the cameras were not rolling. Chris also became deeply involved in his Christian faith. He began attending church regularly and spoke about the importance of his spiritual life. In a 2016 interview with The Hollywood Reporter, he said that his faith gave him perspective. It helped by reminding him that his career was not the most important thing. His family, his health, his relationship with God. Those were the things that mattered. During his years away from Hollywood, Chris also faced legal and financial challenges. In 2014, it was reported that the IRS had filed a tax lien against him for over $2.5 million in unpaid taxes. Chris later resolved the issue, but it was a reminder that even the most successful stars can face difficulties. He never publicly discussed the tax issues in detail, but he later said that he had learned from his mistakes. He had trusted the wrong people. He had not paid enough attention to his finances. He was grateful to have come through it. But through it all, one question kept coming up from fans. Why did Chris never do the Friday sequel? Why was he missing from next Friday? For years, he did not answer. He let the rumors swirl. He let people speculate. He kept his silence. What was really behind Chris's decision to walk away from Friday and the fame that came with it? The truth about the sequel finally revealed. For years, fans have speculated about why Chris did not appear in Next Friday. In a 2023 interview with Variety, Chris finally broke his silence. He explained that it was not about money or even about ego. It was about timing. When they were getting ready to do Next Friday, I was already committed to other projects. The schedule did not work. It wasn't that I didn't want to do it, it was that I could not do it. He said that he was in the middle of filming The Fifth Element when Next Friday was being planned. There was no way to do both. He had to choose. He chose the project that was already underway. He also addressed the rumors about tension with Ice Cube. There's no bad blood. Me and Ice Cube are cool. We have always been cool. He's my brother. I love him. We talk. We laugh. We've talked about doing another Friday many times. It's just about timing. He said that he and Ice Cube have stayed in touch over the years. They check in on each other. They joke about the old days. There is no feud. There never was. Ice Cube also confirmed this version of events. Chris also spoke about watching Next Friday without him. I watched it. I thought it was funny. I was happy for Ice Cube, but I knew that if I was going to do another Friday, I wanted it to be special. I didn't want to just show up. I wanted to give the fans something they would remember. He added that he would still be open to doing another Friday movie. If the time is right, if the script is right, I'm there. I'll always be Smokey. That character is a part of me. He said that he and Ice Cube have talked about it over the years. They have joked about it. They have been serious about it. But the timing has never worked out. He said that he is not closing the door. The door is open. It has always been open. After all these years, what would it take for Chris to finally return to the role of Smokey in a new Friday movie? The relationship with Ice Cube. One of the most persistent rumors about Chris and Friday is that he and Ice Cube had a falling out. Fans have speculated that Chris's absence from the sequel was definitely the result of a feud. And despite Chris clearing the air, Some fans still believe that there is bad blood between them, but according to both men, nothing could be further from the truth. In another interview, Chris once again talked about his relationship with Ice Cube. "Cube is like a brother to me. He gave me my start. He believed in me when nobody else did. I will always be grateful to him for that." He said that he thinks about that often. How different his life would be if Ice Cube had not seen him on Def Comedy Jam. How different his life would be if Ice Cube had not fought for him to be in Friday. He recalled the early days of making Friday. "We were just young guys trying to make something happen. We didn't know what we were doing half the time, but we believed in each other. That's what made the movie special. That's why people still love it." He said that there was no ego on set. They were all just trying to make something funny. They were all just trying to do their best. Ice Cube has said similar things about Chris. In a 2024 interview with Entertainment Weekly, he said, "Chris is one of the most talented people I've ever worked with. He's a genius. He made Friday what it is. I would work with him again in a heartbeat." Cube said that Chris brought something to Friday that nobody else could have brought. The movie would not be the same without him. Chris also addressed the rumors that he was difficult to work with. "People say I'm difficult because I care. I care about the work. I care about the character. I want it to be right. That's not being difficult. That's being professional." He said that he has always been that way. From his first stand-up sets in Atlanta to his biggest movies, he has always wanted to do his best. He has always wanted to make people laugh. He also talked about the importance of creative control. When you make a movie, you're putting yourself out there. You want it to be good. You want people to like it. "I've always been that way. From Friday to Rush Hour to my stand-up specials, I want it to be right." He said that he has turned down roles because he did not believe in them. He has walked away from projects that did not feel right. Some people call that difficult. He calls it having standards. The mutual respect between Chris and Ice Cube has endured for nearly 3 decades. They have spoken about collaborating again. They have joked about it in interviews. But so far, the schedules have never aligned. Both men have said that they would love to work together again. Both men have said that they are open to another Friday, but neither has made it happen. But if the relationship between Chris and Ice Cube is as strong as they both say, why has a Friday reunion not happened yet? In 2023, Friday was selected for preservation in the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress. The National Film Registry recognizes films that are culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. It is one of the highest honors a film can receive. Friday joined the ranks of movies like Do the Right Thing, Boys in the Hood, and The Godfather. It was a recognition that the small comedy about two friends in South Central had become an American classic.
Well, you know Deuce traveling style, little cuz.
Sure you're right.
Yeah. So what's up, little Jay?
We down, Ray.
Chris was asked about the honor in a 2024 interview with the New York Times. He said, "It's amazing. When we were making Friday, we weren't thinking about any of that. We were just trying to make a funny movie. To know that it's being preserved by the Library of Congress, that it's considered an important piece of American culture, that's incredible." He said that he never imagined that Friday would be preserved alongside some of the greatest films ever made. He reflected on what the movie meant to him personally. "Friday changed my life. It gave me a career. It gave me a platform. It gave me the opportunity to do the things I've done. I owe everything to that movie." He said that he thinks about the people who made it possible. Ice Cube, F. Gary Gray, the cast, the crew, the neighborhood. All of them came together to create something that would last. Ice Cube, in the same New York Times piece, talked about what the honor meant. It's validation, not just for me, but for everyone who made that movie. For the writers, the cast, the crew, for the neighborhood, for the people who lived that life. It says that our stories matter, that they're worth preserving. He said that there was a time when movies about Black life were not taken seriously. They were not considered art. They were not considered important. The National Film Registry honor says that times have changed. The National Film Registry honor was a moment of reflection for both men. It reminded them of what they had created together, and it renewed fans' hopes that a fourth Friday movie might finally happen. The honor also sparked renewed interest in the film. New generations discovered it. Old fans revisited it. The movie found new life. What does it say about Friday that a small comedy made for $3.5 million is now preserved alongside the greatest films in American history. Chris Tucker today. In 2024, Chris began making more public appearances. He did interviews and started performing stand-up again. He talked about his career, his faith, and his plans for the future. He seemed more relaxed than he had been in years. The man who had disappeared from public life was finally ready to re-emerge. In a 2024 interview with The Breakfast Club, he was asked about the possibility of a Friday reunion.
We are excited to have our next guest here in the studio. You know him from the Rush Hour movies and Silver Linings Playbook, also loved him in Friday.
He revealed that he and Ice Cube have talked about it. They have ideas, but they have not found the right moment. He also talked about the passing of John Witherspoon and Tiny Lister. That's the hardest part. John and Tiny were family. They were part of what made Friday special. If we do another one, we have to honor them. We have to do it in a way that feels right. He said that he still thinks about them. He still laughs about the moments they shared on set. They were not just co-stars. They were friends. Chris is now in his early 50s. He still does stand-up comedy, selling out shows around the world. He has talked about returning to acting, but he is selective about the roles he takes. He is a father, a Christian, and a man who has lived through the highs and lows of fame. He said that he is grateful for the life he has been given. He does not take any of it for granted. In a 2025 interview with GQ, he reflected on his career. "I've been blessed. I've done things that I never dreamed possible. I've made people laugh. I've made people happy. That's all I ever wanted to do." He said that he does not need to be the biggest star in the world. He does not need to be in every movie. He just wants to do good work, work that makes people happy. He was asked about his legacy. "I hope people remember me as someone who made them laugh, someone who brought joy, someone who was real." That's what Friday was about. Real people, real laughter, real life. He said that he hopes his work continues to bring joy to new generations. He hopes that 30 years from now, people are still watching Friday. He hopes that they are still laughing. What do you think? Should Chris and Ice Cube make another Friday movie? Or is the trilogy perfect as it is? Also, what will the next chapter hold for Chris and the movie that made him a star? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.